Welcome to the podcast that is designed to fuel your success in selling technology solutions. I'm your host, Josh Lopresto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus, and this is Next Level Biz Tech. Everybody, welcome back to a new episode, one that you have not heard before. Today, we are talking about how to grab huge profits from building EV charging systems. And I know you're probably thinking, what? That's not CCAS. That's not, that's none of these other things that we've talked about before. So exciting to break into this topic here, as we kicked it off in the previous segment with Jason Kaufman. But today we've got Joel Urano, CEO of Modas Systems. Joel, welcome on, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
So, Joel, for anybody that's not familiar with Modas, we're going to get to that in a second. But I think the most important part of this show is hearing how the heck people got to where they are. So I want to hear your personal background. Did you start out selling beach towels and then stumbled into technology? What's the path for you? How did you get here?
Yeah, I started my first company back in 2005, and actually I started the phone buyback, not the industry, but started a phone buyback business back in 2005, and within 90 days we were moving about 30,000 handsets a month. It was just you couldn't get enough. Like the buyers wanted more than we could even find. So there was no enterprises out there turning over that much. So kind of grew that business, and what got me to Modus was something that really is not that exciting, but it's a part of every business, and it's Supreme Court rule that guess what? Now you got to charge sales tax on stuff, right? And not just I'm out of state, you don't have to do it. So, now if you're out of state seller, you got to collect sales tax. So, we put together a platform that could assess sales tax on different types of products and solutions. And, we found that in the reseller side of the channel, they didn't know how to do that, right? And even a lot of technology providers don't. So, but what really got exciting is that we realized there were technology providers out there that wanted to get in the agent channel, but didn't want to do direct billing because they didn't want to deal with sales tax. So we kind of bridged that gap, and looking forward to bringing new technologies to the Telarus family.
I love it, and let's talk about Modus. I mean, I know the title of this track. We're going to get into some nuts and bolts here about EV charging and building that out and profiting from that as a partner and all of that good stuff. But maybe before we branch off into that piece of what you do, give us a little bit of an overview for somebody who's never heard of Modus. What are overall vision of the company? A couple of the key things that you do, and what are big focuses for you, product or vision wise?
Yeah, no, sure. So, for us, product wise is, we want to be the kind of catch-all for, the Telarus sales partner. If there's a solution or product that's not in the portfolio today, we want to be able to we want to go grab it and make it available to your partners, on the quick. So, maybe it could take a week, and right, we'll add it to our catalog, and right now they can sell it, and just goes through our regular commission scale with Telarus. How we got here, as I said, you kind of deal with that sales tax thing, which is kind of that foundation, right? It's that non-pretty thing that every house has to be built on, but everybody's got to have it. Well, we found the EV chargers, and in the resale side, this was just a great fit, and introduced it to the market, and it's pretty exciting with the land grab that's going on, and the revenue and the commissions that are out there for this. So we're really excited.
So break that down for me for a second. I don't think people realize and understand how exciting this is, right? When Kaufman first told us about this, hey, by the way, I mean, as nuts and bolts as we know the IoT and this whole space to be, these guys can be a vehicle for us if we can find great products that we need, right? Which is awesome for us because that saves us from having to go explore and find new suppliers and go through all that process, right? That's not something that we want to necessarily do. We want to lean into the suppliers that we have.
Hmm.
So could you give maybe just an example of, you've obviously established the EV charging and you figured that, and we're going to get into that, but what are one or two of the other things that either A, you've established, or B, you could envision establishing later as, hey, you go get the partnership, we're going to put it on Modus paper, Modus is going to support it, and then engage the reselling partner however you see fit.
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of it actually comes from your team. Say, hey, can you guys get us this kind of solution? Right. There's that, there's kind of both sides. So it's your team, and then it's also the suppliers that, never had access to the agent channel or agent portion of the channel, and now they realize that we're a gateway to that because they don't want to build direct. So Samsung's got a great program with their digital signage. It's a great model because it's recurring revenue to the sales partners for the life of that display, and they could be up there 10 years. That's a pretty exciting one. Excuse me. we've got a new relationship with Fujitsu for their network operations center and outside, or I'm sorry, outsourced, network management for larger businesses. So guess what? Partners can sell that too, right? The Fujitsu team comes in, does their assessment, and puts everything together, and so we're getting new suppliers that we're talking to pretty regularly, but we're really excited about the Samsung digital signage, and whether that's on its own or pairing with the EV charging stations.
I love it. And if you're a partner and you're used to looking at your itemized list of things that you can sell in the Teleris back office on a per supplier basis, I would say look at it today, what it looks like with Modus, and you'll have itemized line items there. And depending on when you watch this, today, tomorrow, 6 months, 9 months from now, there may be more items in there that you can get through this, right? So I think that's cool to see that you guys are such a great vehicle for this that fits inside your wheelhouse and just saves us, ultimately helps us bring more value and saves us a ton of work of trying to figure this out on our own. So we love that.
Well, and I would say, look what's there in 6 months, and if it's not there, give us a call. Because it's not that we wouldn't add it. It's just maybe we hadn't got to that one yet or thought about it. So,
Yeah, I suppose that really means when we say built for you, it really is. What are you selling? Where do you need to go? What's going to help you grow? Because this is a big Lego
hmm
box
hmm
that we keep looking at. So good stuff.
right, right.
All right. So we're talking about EV for the next couple of questions here. I want to get an understanding from you. I've always been an EV fan. I always try to look as far out as we can and kind of see where this thing is going and help us get ready for what's next. And always been a car guy, right? So naturally, I love to pay attention to this space. But talk to me about, what have you learned most valuable in this? I mean, how did you come across this whole EV partnership and being able to build and profit from this?
So, with EV, what's most exciting is that, it's out there in the press. Like, we're not having to go publicize it. It is out there in the media every single day. The government's behind it. The government's putting money out there to fund projects. There's just, there are grants at the federal level. There's tax credits, not write-offs, but credits. There's accelerated depreciation stuff out. I mean, so there's all sorts of benefits to the business owner. What we found is that some guys are really excited about that, and really kind of depends on the business. But then others like, well, I'm a restaurateur. Right? I don't know anything about being EV charging, but I still need one at my restaurant. So so we've got two models where the customer can say, I'll buy it, right, and then we'll take care of all the construction, get it in the ground, and then the customer gets all the revenue. But we've also got another model where the customers are saying, again, I don't really want to own and maintain it because I want to focus on my business. So we've got another model with some owner operator partners. They'll come in, finance the whole project, pay for the equipment, pay for the install, run them, maintain them, and they just do a rev share back to the business owner, right, or at least the business. And what's really exciting about that is there's no upfront out of pocket expense to the customer, but there is a check coming in the mail every month back to the customer. So this is a solution where the customers actually will make money, mailbox money, without having to do too much. If they go the owner operator path, if they choose to buy it themselves, there's not really a whole lot to it, but some of these projects could get quite expensive. So we work through each project with your partners and say, okay, here's what makes sense at this location. And I mean, if the customer wants to buy more, okay, but we want to make sure that they're getting what makes sense for their location and performs as expected.
I love it. And so if I'm a partner and I'm listening and I'm at this point, I'm thinking, all right, who's my prospect here? And I think outside of, Tesla has built out their supercharger network and those exist. And then outside of that, everybody else that I have as a business that wants to attract customers and be friendly and have EV chargers in whatever their business is, residential, commercial, whatever, is an opportunity, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell you right now, the market's going to evolve, but today the best ones are going to be multifamily complexes, like apartments, high-rise condominiums, that kind of stuff. Also going to be hotels, because you really want to think about how long is that customer going to be in the parking lot, right? And that then drives what kind of charger we want to put in there. Is there an expectation? So movie theater, all right, you're going to be there a couple hours, so you can put a charger in there that may make sense. Hotel, with the rental cars going to electric, think about this. If you're a business traveler and you get an electric car and you go to some hotel and there's no charger, you got to go drive down the street, park your car, Uber back to the hotel. you're probably just going to pick a hotel with an EV charger in the parking lot. Um, and some of the hotel brands, the big brands that we all know, one of them is actually looking at taking their elite level frequent guest program, and once you get to a certain tier, your charging's free, which
Ooh.
means they're going to need, they're still going to need to put them in, and these are all done at the franchise level. Most hotels are not owned by corporate, so hotels are a great one. Um, Truck stops, anywhere you're kind of an in-transit destination, those ones are great too. Gas stations, those ones take a little bit more work, but
Yeah.
shopping malls, but you really want to look at, where do you think the traffic is going to be, and best for your customer, like where there's people, right? Not the town where there's 2,000 folks in there, and there may not be an electric car there for 2 years.
Yeah, I love that we don't have to think of, what kind of tech stack does this customer have? Is it a MySQL database? It's do they have people that stay there for a while? That's an opportunity. So I think the
Mm-hmm,
partners'
hmm
wheels are spinning. So that's awesome. I love that. I think there's huge opportunity there. Let's talk about innovation for a second. I mean, you want to talk about an innovating space. I mean, how do it's innovating as you're touching it. It's innovating as you're getting into it. What is there anything key that you're paying attention to in this space from an innovation perspective? Is it grant money flowing in? Is it tax credit? How do you think of, how does Modus pay attention to innovation to be ready for what's next in an industry like this?
Well, I'll give you a great example. So with the EV charging, let's say we're 5 years down the road and you've got a charger at your office that you can plug into during the day. You may not even need it, but it's there. You've got a charger at your home. So why do you stop at the gas station in town anymore? I mean, cup of coffee, bottle of water, maybe, the snack, but why do you stop there? So, like the gas stations, they're looking how to innovate. What can we do to make stopping at my gas station, not just a necessity, right? Well, they want it to be a necessity. So, I'm really excited about what new technology can we work with the gas stations to say, I need to put this new technology in to keep my business going. So, there's a gas station chain that, I wouldn't say they're out of Dallas, but there's, certainly they've got a lot of stores here, and they're starting to put some tables and a frozen yogurt bar in there where you may sit for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just have your, a lot of them starting to have these delis in there. So, it's not just go and get gas and, grab something off the shelf and pay the cashier. Like, you can sit down and, I mean, it's not like a full-fledged restaurant, but
Yeah.
the expected time that you're going to be there is a little bit longer. So we're starting to see a lot of that. We've got one of your partners is working on a really exciting deal with the gas station chain, and they're doing some really innovating stuff. So it's that part's really, really, really cool. Looking at other types of businesses, like just let's say a commercial office complex, where you've got a property management firm. Hey, this is a draw for possible tenants. I mean, with
Yeah.
Modas growing, looking at new space, well, guess what? You know, if they don't have EV chargers, because I'm going to an EV vehicle in the next year, probably not going to look at. Although we may just use that to negotiate that we're going to put some in and take some rent off. But no. But no, I mean, but in all seriousness, if EV chargers going to need to be at commercial office buildings, so so we're always just kind of looking at what goes into that place, what makes sense. We've got a great solution with a company called Live View Technologies, and they've got subscription-based security cameras. So we're there, all right, we need to put the cameras there for security purposes, for insurance purposes, make people safe or feel safe when they're there charging. You don't want to be in some dark parking garage or dark parking lot, and
Yeah.
maybe there's somebody by themselves. Well, we're going to put some lights and other things around it. But what other technology can we take from the supplier catalog and put it out there?
Love it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I mean, if you think about what people look at nowadays with if I'm getting my first apartment and I've grown and experienced nothing but tech and I expect tech everywhere, I'm going to think, does this apartment complex just have an embedded smart doorbell? Does it have, all these other things included? I'm going to look for some of these things, and at
Hmm
some point, I'm going to expect them. To your point, and it is going to change where I go, who I socially align with, or who I like from what tech they have, and it's going to influence my decision. And I'm going to be okay if some of that gets subsidized into my rent or whatever, because I think it's an amenity, or it's going to be it's a utility, really. So great points there.
I mean, really, with getting placement of EV chargers at a business, at your partner's customers, is are they going to be the Blockbuster or are they going to be the Netflix? Blockbuster passed on Netflix, and look what happened. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be something that is critical, right? I mean, it's not going to make or break a business, but it's just going to become that expectation.
Yeah.
I mean, people say, I mean, you go buy a home, right? And someone says, well, how many bathrooms or does this house have? Oh, well, it's 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Okay, well, nobody asked how many power outlets does this thing have? Has the
Yeah.
house have? Well, guess what? That's going to change with the EV market, just growing and growing and growing. Do you have EV chargers at your apartment, in your parking garage, at the business, that you buy new homes. So
Yeah. Good points. All right, let's get into a deployment. So, all right, I understand this. I think people listening at this point understand what the opportunity is, who to go after, how to go after. But let's say I'm ready to do a deployment. Now, I'm not saying let's pull up an SOW and go through line item by line item, but help me understand, how do you price this out? What are the things that create the costs in this? How long does it take? What are the roadblocks? Walk me through a deal, something like that.
sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So, one thing that, the partners need to keep in mind, and we make sure we tell them this, is that this is not a I mean, it is a technology rollout, but probably more importantly, this is also a construction build. And you don't build a house in a week or 2 weeks or a month. This is a construction build where it could take 6 months just to get the permitting done, right? It's going to take a while, but you can get started. I mean, 6 months is a long time for permitting, but just as an example. So the costs come with, there's the equipment itself, there's the cost of the construction, and really that's it. There's a little bit of maintenance, but depending on the warranty that the customers are buying, the maintenance is mostly covered for 5 to 7 years. So, um, the one actually there was one other big piece of value I wanted to touch on. So for those business owners that buy these EV chargers, right, or just put them in through our owner operator program, that actually will increase the value of that property. So, it'll increase the value through a cap rate calculation of that
Mm.
property. So we had a customer buy 1.2 million worth of chargers, and it increased the value of his property by $3 million when he sold it. So property owner's a good one. But back to the cost side, the just we want to make sure the partners understand that, as the construction rollout, there's contractors have to get involved, city permitting, there's work to be done. But again, we're not talking $100,000. I mean, in some cases, we're talking million. We've got one quote we're working with one of your partners right now. That's a $17 million quote. Well, you guys can go look at the commission tables on that, and I think everybody would be really happy. So, um, so really, it comes down to the cost and the construction. The big driving factor on the construction side is placement of the chargers, and how far are we from the transformer, the power panel. And we did one with a customer, and they said, well, we want it on the south side of the parking lot, but the power was on the north side.
Mm.
And the difference for one charger, right? It was just one charger, but it was a $50,000 construction difference based on where they wanted it, versus where we suggested. And once we showed them the difference, like, oh no, we'll go with where you guys think. So
Unnecessary $50,000 extension. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Got it. Good. I love it. In that process, right? If I'm thinking about this, I'm going, okay, there's this piece, there's this piece, there's that. Does Modus really act as kind of the GC to supervise, or the PM to supervise this whole thing, or what's that?
absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Good.
Absolutely. Yeah. We take care of all of that. We need the partners to make the introduction, kind of help us quarterback get the calls, get the customer buy-in, and then, we get the paperwork started. At that point, we'll just keep the partner in the loop. And we get everything closed up. We work with the contractor to get that done, and get all the construction done. Once the installation work's done, we get the chargers commissioned, and those things are live, and project closed and commissions paid.
And so who are my stakeholders and my decision makers in this? Is it owners? Is it facilities people? Where do I start, and who do I want to be in this conversation if I'm prospecting out here?
If you're looking at the smaller businesses, certainly going to be the owners. You get to the larger ones where let's say you're on a large commercial property. It gets a little bit more complicated there, where maybe the tenant they're a tenant, so that they may not own the gas or may not have rights to the parking lot. So there's a little bit of working through that with let's say the management firm or the building owner. But again, typically the building owners are the ones that say absolutely go ahead and do it. Uh, so, but in the hotels is really interesting. The depending on the contracts for management of hotels, sometimes the management firm takes responsibility, and sometimes it's the investors that own the building. So, it's not a lot of digging. It's just a couple simple questions to ask.
Yeah. So walk me through, and we can keep names out of this, but I mean, walk me through an example. I would love to hear about how one of these started, right? Did people hear about that you knew this, or that you knew how to do this? Did you walk in, what was that, right? And how did you scope one of these things out? And what was the solution that they ultimately went with? Just walk us through a real example.
Sure. So really, the first one that was sizable. Actually, this was the first one. What we did is, we had a couple of your partners that we had a great relationship with. Just we talked to regularly, and we said, hey, we're going to roll out EV chargers. What do you think? And it's like, ding, the light came on, and right, I got a customer for this, and this turned into a 41-acre truck stop travel plaza with I don't know, probably close to 60 chargers on this property.
Whoa.
And so it's in the works. Construction is going on, but it's a big one. It's a big one. And the partners said, I didn't know anything about this, but this wasn't a hard sell. It was just, I just needed to get the people together, and you guys took the rest. We're not asking them to be electrical engineers or contractors. It's just, get us together with the business owner or the property owner, and
Love it. Makes it sound so easy. It's just different. I think it's so much easier to understand. Not that you need to get into the nuts and bolts and be a general contractor yourself, but I think fundamentally you understand the value prop right away. You don't have to cut underneath and go, well, wait, does it really do this? Does it actually go this way? It's just so easy to understand.
well, on that travel plaza. So this travel plaza owner, over the 10 years, they're making $15 million on the chargers. That's the revenue coming back into them. And of course, we said to your partner, we said, hey, they're going to make $15 million with revenue from these EV chargers. Go sell them something else. I mean, obviously, we'd love for you to sell them something we're providing, but hey, we know that we don't provide everything. So, if they need VoIP, if they need, or Zcat, I mean, anything that you can get through the Teleris portfolio, go sell it to them, because they can't say it's not in the budget because we made the budget for it.
Made the budget, yeah. I love it. So you're providing a place that makes people providing a place that or I guess a technology that makes more people want to come to the business, makes it more appetizing for the business. On top of that, you're adding a service for the end customer. You're providing rev share to the end business. And so they're ultimately going to recap ROI on that, either quantitatively and or qualitatively, and then the partners are going to make money on it. I mean,
Right.
so it really is kind of an ultimate win. I love that you use it to the term mailbox money, because I was going to use it if you didn't. So
Yeah.
good, good.
Yeah.
All right. So as we wrap this up, let's talk about my favorite thing to talk about is probing questions here. And you've painted a lot of good scenarios, right? So I think maybe people understand it at this point. But all right, let's say I'm juiced. I want to hang up from this podcast. I want to go call my prospects, my relationships that I think are in this, because we've got a lot of partners that focus on these verticals that you're mentioning. But who do I start with? What do I say? What are my questions? And when do I stop and bring you in?
So they want to go talk to the partners. And, do you guys have any interest in putting, EV charging stations here at your location? Again, those objections may get, well, we don't own the building. It's that's higher up. Maybe you have to talk to our facilities guy. So, who you talk to is going to vary business to business, but it's that simple a question. Because like I said, you could use it for the example of hotels where guests might not stay there. Well, guess what? If you've got employees, it's becoming an amenity, right? It's not becoming it's a draw to bring people to your business, but it's not just customers, it could be employees, right? As you're trying to hire new folks. Um, so, ask those questions of, where, how many businesses do you have, or how many locations do you have? Is there any interest? Likely you're going to get that pushback of, well, it's not really something, we can pay for. It's not our focus. Great. Well, I've got a partner, Modas, that's also got an owner operator program that, they'll come and take care of everything. It's just outsourced, and they're basically paying you to put these chargers in your parking lot. And there's really nothing for you to do, Mr. Customer, right? And by the way, now we created that budget for that other project you said wasn't on the books for this year.
Love it. Simple. All right, final thoughts here. So look into your crystal ball, Joel, and maybe in 6 months we're at flying cars. Maybe not yet, but who knows? AI is progressing and tech is progressing great. But if you look out 6, 12 months, 18 months, anything you want us to be ready for, pay attention to additionally, or should we just focus on this and saturate the heck out of this because there is so much runway here?
There's a ton of runway here, Josh. I mean, this thing is, it's a land grab right now, right? It's not going to be there forever. I mean, once there's chargers in the parking lot, you kind of don't need more. So, it's going to be a land grab. The other thing we didn't touch on, but I'll just mention briefly, is the digital signage, which is
Yeah.
also a recurring revenue generator. Just like you might see in an airport, but we're putting these signs outside, and they're generating revenue for customers. In some cases, 5, 6, 700 a month. So we've got one that's they're almost at the end of that deal. And it's going to generate $2,000 a month ad revenue back to this customer. So it promotes products in his store, and it's going to pay for the equipment, and then it's all gravy for the guy. So there's that. The other thing that we're evaluating, and would love to, if you've got a couple partners that have any thoughts, love to hear from them on are there solar projects out there. So, solar is something that, we're looking at, trying to make sure we find the right supplier, right partner to bring into the ecosystem, to push out to the world.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it just seems like such a natural half step over from what you're doing, right? At least as it relates to this, to the EV charging. We're talking EV charging, we're talking profitability, we're talking ROI and signage. Why not stack solar on top of it at all, right? And
Right.
whether that's revenue generating, that's pays for power, whatever it is. I think that's, if that's not, I mean, we did just get a request for that yesterday, but if that's not going to
There you
become
go.
more frequent occurrence, I don't know what is if we look out. So no, I love it. Absolutely right. If and we don't say this a lot, but partners, if you've got ideas and there are things that you want Modus to look at that you've got customers that are going to need, and we just maybe haven't found a great way to market for that, bring it to us, loop us in, loop Joel in, and let's talk through it. I think there's a lot of great opportunity there. So, well, good. Joel, we covered a lot of good stuff. I'm excited. I want to go help somebody sell this stuff. I think this is great. So I appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate that. Look forward to working with everybody.
All right, everybody. That wraps us up for today. I'm your host, Josh the Presto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus, Joel Urano, Modas Systems CEO. Until next time, thanks, everybody.
Next Level BizTech has been a production of Telarus Studio 19. Please visit Telarus.com for more information.